Welcome to Creative Spaces. We're talking to people about their careers and how they got started and their surrounding environment. Welcome to Creative Spaces. This is Kevin Booth and Rob Wenner, and in today's episode of the podcast, we're talking to drummer, percussionist, educator, and actor, Redmond.
It's really the engineers that are the heroes. You know, people are like, I love that snare drum sound. You guys like, look at man, it's a Black Beauty. I changed the head, I put it on the stand, and then the engineer is the guy that it knows about the signal path and the mic placement and how the room reacts. And like, he's the hero, you know?
Redmond was named Country Drummer of the Year in the Modern Drummer magazine Readers Poll in 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018, and was voted Best Country Drummer and Clinician by both Modern Drummer and Drum magazine for several years. Rich has been recording and touring drummer for country star Jason Aldean for 20 years, and his versatile, dynamic, and rock-solid drumming has been heard on hundreds of live and recorded projects for artists including Garth Brooks, Kelly Clarkson, Bryan Adams, Bob Seger, Chris Cornell, Joe Perry, Jewel, Miranda Lambert, Luke Bryan, Keith Urban, Derek Trucks, Florida Georgia Line, Thomas Rhett, Lit, Travis Tritt, Thompson Square, and Little Big Town, just to name a few. He's an international motivational speaker. Rich brings his Crash Course for Success motivational drumming event to drum shops, music stores, high schools, colleges, and corporate events across the world. And his clients include Cisco, Johnson & Johnson, Hewlett Packard, Microsoft, Presidio, Rock Café, and many others. Rich is also an adjunct faculty member at Musicians Institute in Hollywood and a drummers collective in New York City. And his podcast, The Rich Redmond Show, features interviews with musicians, actors, authors, and comedians. Rich, thank you for joining us today on Creative Spaces.
Thank you guys for having me.
Wow, that's a list.
Dang, you did a great job, man.
Thank you. You know, Rob challenged me every podcast was to see how long I can go without breathing. Will I fall over?
That's right.
I'm still standing, Rob.
All right. I'll try again harder next time.
Rich, with all of that, how did you get started and what prepared you for all that work?
Well, you know, you guys have a lot of, creatives on, and you probably hear a lot of this similar story, like the instrument chose me. You know, it's like we just have this kind of like predilection or kind of like this talent that points us in the direction to pick that particular instrument. So for me, it was the drums. You know, I tried guitar, but I played it like a drum, you know? So I was like, and some people say like, the drums called me. There was this old dusty set in the garage and I knew exactly what to play. For me, it wasn't quite like that. But I started in 76, 77, because I remember having like little method books and my teacher would write in, I remember 76, 77. So I was around 6 or 7 years old, Milford, Connecticut, get my first teacher, shows me how to hold the drumsticks. And we're reading little Joel Rothman books, the Encyclopedia of Rock Drumming, and I'm still playing the same beat, 44 years later, because, hey, that's the one that will buy you a house.
That's right.
If we could get the audience to appreciate something more than
I love it. That's one of my favorites. You could speed it up, you could slow it down.
Yeah.
But it's been an amazing journey. When you pick a path in life and it makes you happy, and then at the same time you're able to affect other people, that's like just a magical spot,
Yeah. Is there any musicians you were drawn to at that time, or musicians throughout your career you're like, that's what I'm modeling myself after? They have all these tools and they do all these
Well,
things.
at first it was, the Peter Chris's of the world. I mean, it's like, wow, that guy's wearing makeup and it's wildfire and
doing
then
this wild drum roll. And who knew it was a phaser when you were a kid? You didn't know it was a phaser.
And Queen, I remember that the cover of the couple of the Queen records, they were so racy, and I was like, oh, this is, and then I took a little bit of a break because I was so young. I wanted to play with my Star Wars figures and ride my banana bike and build tree houses and and so I took a little bit of break. But then when my parents moved from Milford, Connecticut to El Paso, Texas, this was a blessing because Texas is so big on like marching bands. And, as a result, like music education is very strong and still is in that state. And then I rediscovered, I joined the 5th grade band. And because of those early lessons, I was ahead of the other kids. I could do a press roll. I could do a flam, worked my way over the timpani, learned the scales on the Glock, learned how to properly play the crash cymbals. And then the Police came out with their record Synchronicity. And we had that thing called MTV, JJ Jackson, Nina Blackwood, Alan Hunter, Martha Quinn, who I had a massive crush on. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do,
Yeah. Yeah. And you were aware at that time it's a career path and that's what you were headed for?
I think so. I mean, I never looked at the guys on TV and I mean, I knew I was like, I want to do something like that. How I do that, I don't know. Because, some people grow up, their dad's a record producer or their big brother plays in a band and they figure out how to get connected. But El Paso, Texas is, far west Texas. And there really wasn't much of a connection to the music business. So I really had to figure out how to get to people that could help me or educate me and the gatekeepers. And it was a long time. I was 26 or 27 years old before I jumped on my first tour bus. And a lot of times that's when,
Really?
Rock stardom is dying and people look at their gold records on their walls and I go, that was great. Now I'm going to go be a toilet paper salesman.
You figure out what to do with the rest of your life. Yeah.
It was just starting, so thank God for
So
this.
who'd you go on tour with then? With some local guys or a cover band or an artist?
My first tour bus gig in Nashville was with my first gig in Nashville, which was a gentleman I'm still friends with. His name is Paul Ross, and he has a society band called the Cadillacs with a K. So, Paul, if you're listening, thank you for hiring me. I cold called Paul. He asked for a demo tape. I gave him my demo tape. He said, "You got reliable transportation?" "Yep." I said, he said, "You got a tux?" I said, "Yep." He goes, "Can you read music?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Bring me your demo tape." So he listened to a couple bars of it, and he's like, "You're hired." Saturday night. So I moved to Nashville on a Tuesday. I started playing with him on a Saturday, and it was good. It went well. And he goes, "We got a gig coming up. We're going to Rome, Georgia. I'm getting us a tour bus." And I was like, okay. So, I was like, this isn't jumping in the bunk, because my dad was in the military. He was in the Navy and he was in the submarines all the time. So I can only imagine that's kind of like what it was like.
Exactly.
And now I miss it. A year off from 16 nonstop years riding around in a little crypt, but we love that crypt because you can draw the curtain and you got little plugs in there and there used to be DVD players and, you got the sound of the motor. I miss the motor, man.
Yeah. Right. Do you need a sound or a noise floor like that to sleep?
Nah, I'm pretty flexible. I'm pretty flexible with the sleeping. I have my friend, the guys in my band, the first time we played American Idol, we had 5 minutes to walk up to the stage and I was just flat out napping, taking a power nap in the corner. And they took a picture of me and they're like, "Redmond, 5 minutes, we're walking." I'm like, "Great, let me just pee real quick, splash some water on my face. I'm all recharged." I believe in the power of the power nap,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's great. It's an excellent thing.
Well, yeah, no, they say 20 minutes is like the right amount, right? That an hour's sleep would do more damage or keep you, more relaxed or tired, but a 20-minute
for sure
rejuvenation.
I can sleep anywhere, man. These are the things that a road dog gets together. And I assembled some rules over the years, and the rules are never pass up a hot shower, never pass up a hot meal, and never pass up a good night's sleep.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Very true. Very, very true.
Yeah.
Those are guidelines to live by for sure, no matter what career you're in. Was there a point, I always like to ask this question because there's some harmony in the answer we get from different people in the industry, whether it's the music industry or podcasting or acting or comedians. Was there ever a point where you had a backup plan or you followed the advice of a peer or parent who said you need a backup plan?
Well, my parents they were so supportive. They never said, Rich, how about a trade or, be a doctor or a lawyer, because that is true. You go to college for a long time. You come out, you're a lawyer, you're getting a job.
Mm-hmm.
You're a doctor, you're going to save lives. You go to college and study music, you get out and you're like right at the bottom. You have some increased skill sets, but you got to go out and shake hands and shake trees and hopefully something comes together. So they were always really supportive, but I did kind of like the Greg Bissonette back plan, which was to go to a great college and study music education, because that would allow me to wear the blazer with the patches on the elbow and stand up in front of the third period band and conduct the concert band and go work with the drum line and teach the jazz ensemble. And I was like, that could be kind of fun. And in addition to getting those skill sets together, it was like those things really helped me just in life, like being able to effectively communicate and teach and break down exercises and work with school kids of varying ages or conduct. Like there's a lot of, just conducting in 4/4 and being able to cue someone. I mean, there's a lot of coordination involved there and stuff. So all that stuff really paid off. But that was my closest thing to a backup plan. I mean, I was a pretty good writer. I was kind of like a journalism student. So I was thinking, well, maybe I can, write for magazines and books someday. And I did those things. So
yeah, that exactly.
You expanded your possibilities within the realm you were interested in, instead of saying, well, my backup plan will be, I'll go be an electrician.
Completely different. Yeah. If you're in a lane, I just tell people, like, look at all the possibilities within that lane. So say you are a performer. Well, you can, you could teach, you could create products, you could put your own recording studio together, you get the room treated with Oralex and you're in business. I mean, Rob, I had, your guys came over almost over 10 years ago to my little crash studio in Nashville and made the room just superb. And
awesome.
It's not a massive slice of my creative pie, but it is amazing to have a place where I can go, someone can send me files and I could bring their song to life. It's so satisfying.
Yeah. Excellent.
Right. Yeah. You use the hover mat and hover deck too, right?
Yeah. And we have those over at, you guys sent me a lot of those one time for all of my, thank you for supporting all my drummers weekends over the years.
Absolutely.
And some of those ended up over at Drum Paradise. So we have them over there for for clinicians and master classes and that kind of.
You've worked with an impressive list of artists, and we talked about the Cadillacs getting started. Is that how you got started, in Nashville and cemented yourself there? Or did you sign on with another act after that?
God. Yeah, I tried to, I didn't do as much journaling or keep a diary, but I do remember kind of like it's kind of like a Nashville family tree where it's like, I remember Paul hiring me, firm handshake. I came through for him. We had a great time. He kept hiring me. And then I was shaking trees down on Music Row, like literally cold calling management offices. And there was a gal named Judy Seal who works with this company for all these festivals over in like Japan and Korea. And she takes U.S. entertainers to go out and entertain the troops. And she hired me to back up Rana Reeves and this kid named Rick Orozco, who was supposed to be the next kind of like bilingual country artist. So he sang in 2 languages, and he had a record that came out. We were kind of promoting that and going and playing for the troops. And I don't know, I feel that Rick's career did not end up where it should have, which is it's kind of a common story. It's heartbreaking. Nashville is like it's kind of like Hollywood. There's a lot of broken hearts and a lot of broken dreams, but hey, you gotta go there, right? Because you don't want to be a member of the woulda, coulda, shoulda club. You want to go after your dreams. And so really what it was just one handshake leading to another. It's a word of mouth business. It really is. It's nice to have resumes. It's nice to have a website, but it really is your reputation preceding you. Someone gives you an opportunity, trying to exceed those expectations that they have for you, and then just showing up,
Showing up, right? And not just a reputation as a player, but as a person, right? Because it's all about relationships. Everybody has to gel for this to work out.
Yeah, you're on the tour bus all those hours, and you only play the 90 minutes. So there's a lot of time to be like, Redmond, get your hands out of the pretzel bag. I told you to pour them into the bowl.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Like all that, like who peed on the lid again? You really have
Lift
to
the
love
seat.
each other.
Yeah.
Man.
Pretend your mom's on the bus.
Yeah. But somehow we've done it. It's so cool when I tell people that have been playing with the same group of guys for 21 years. They're like, what? It's like 5 presidencies.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How did your relationship with Jason Aldean happen?
Well, man, thank God I ran into Jason Aldean. It came through our guitar player, Kurt Allison, was one of the first guys I started playing music with in 1997. His dad, Ken Allison, had a band called, and still does, the Blues Other Brothers. And we played a lot of like Motown and Stax and show tunes,
cool.
but it was all like really fast stuff. Like almost like if you listen to the record Otis Redding live at the Whiskey A Go-Go 1964, it's like everything was like, so fun. And so I totally hit it off with Kurt. Kurt ends up meeting Tully Kennedy. Tully Kennedy's uncle is writing songs at Warner Chappell Music. Michael Knox is VP at Warner Chappell, is developing a young man named Jason Aldean, gets him a record deal on Capitol Records. The guy needs a band. Kurt tells Tully about me. Then boom, we join up with Jason, and it's been, a situation where we get along, personally and professionally, which is very, very nice. So there was never really like, I don't know, an official audition, but there was times where it's like, hey, Jason, I got this guy coming in today. He's like, he's from New England like me, and you'll love him. And then we would rehearse 8 hours a day over at SIR, and it really honed our skills as a rhythm section to like really listen and play together and match kick drum patterns and all the stuff you learn. Bring the dynamics down in the verse, the vocal is king, take direction, all that stuff,
Yeah. There's a lot of talk about playing for the song, and you find out who's really doing that, right? And
Nashville
guys
will
who
teach
played
you
with
that.
Jason Aldean for 20 years is really playing for the song every time.
Well, and that is an expectation, I think, in Nashville. Songwriting capital of the world, three chords and the truth. We're telling stories that everyone can relate to. It's never been about the drums. So for playing that particular style, and I'm coming from like, University of North Texas and Texas Tech, where I was playing like, avant-garde 20th century music and, really involved odd time fusion and big band music. And what it taught me was just to edit, just like, so it was more like guys like Hal Blaine and, Russ Kunkel and Porcaro and, John Robinson, all the guys, and of course, Eddie Bears, Lonnie Wilson, Greg Morrow, like all of our friends in Nashville. I mean, the list is so deep in Nashville of world-class drummers. You could throw a rock and hit a world-class drummer in Nashville, but they all know how to shape a song and hopefully have just that one little Mona Lisa moment in the song where people go like, oh, that's Chad Cromwell, that's Greg Morrow, that's Paul Lime. If they say that's Rich Redmond, I'm like, whoa, that's such a cool thing. Like,
that's very
like my
cool.
mom, I could have sworn it was you on the radio the other day because of the way you opened the hi-hat on the Anna 4. Like,
whoa.
No, she doesn't say that, but she might say something like, I heard you playing tambourine on that Trace Adkins song. That tambourine sounds great, Richie.
That's my son playing the tambourine.
Thanks, Ma.
That's the thing, I mean, proud parents, that's
absolutely
a killer reward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's a common theme too, is you really have the family support to do this and be in this career, then you can do all the things that you've done.
Well, you had one of my favorite people, and I can't believe it took me so long to meet him, but, our friend Ray Luzier, when you think of this guy, he's traveled the world, total rock star with one of the biggest bands in the world, and the guy is just like, oh, shucks. He's just like so humble, so grateful, so much humility, and he comes from that background of the supportive parents, that are like, Raymond, you're going to Hollywood? This looks very dangerous.
Right. You're not going to work on the farm with us? Come on.
But it never changed. He never changed. And he's so good with the kids. He taught at my camp, and the kid, he's like, go. And then he's like, hey, let's all go get a coffee. He's just so approachable. His drumming is angry. And then he gets off the drums and he's like, what's up? I'm a unicorn.
Yeah, exactly. That's the amazing thing. he
That's
lays
funny.
down these tracks. You're like, whoa, he's really
He's mad.
He's mad. And then he gets up. Hey, how's everybody doing? Let's get some donuts.
Can I fix you a sandwich? I love the guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. He really is. And you are too. You do this cool thing, Crash Course for Success, and I've been to a few of those. And it's not like any other drum clinic where somebody sits down and just flails away and goes, well, check that out. I'll let you know how I did that.
That's how you
some
do
other
it,
time.
boys.
There you go.
Any questions?
Exactly. And what impresses me, and you've already talked a bit about this already, is that you go into a lot of different things, more so than just, being able to play a cool fill or whatever, but just covering the basics of how to play with the rhythm section. And that's a really cool thing. And then, you can talk a little bit more about what's involved with that, but how that also translates into other things where you mentioned, you're doing corporate things too, and how to present yourself, how to network with people, how to be that person people want to be with and work with. And so anything you want to say about that would be awesome.
Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate all the support over the years. I mean, I know so many
Absolutely.
kids over the years went home with like cool Oral X products. They're like, oh, wow, I'm going to make my drum room sound great now. And that was my drummers' weekends were so fun to do for so long. They were so much work.
Yeah.
They were such hard work. And now things are, now that we have this, zombie attack to get through, things are going to be a little bit different. I'm so curious to see what's going to happen with like social norms. Like, are we going to be doing the elbow, thing forever? Are we going to?
Someone foot pumped me the other day. I was like,
Foot pumped you? They kicked you.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I took it as a greet.
called
Hey, how
kicking.
you doing? But
Right.
they actually kicked me. So yeah.
God, I hope we can get back to the Italian thing. If I just want to kiss all my male friends on the cheeks, man,
Yeah,
I can't
right.
wait. It's only slightly awkward. Some people don't appreciate it, but I just persist.
I've thought of that too. This must be really tough for East Coast Italian families, right? It's just like,
the thing about Crash is it's an acronym, and I like let's give people the tools to go away from an event and actually remember everything they were presented with. So if you think what Crash is, I'm sure there could be a more original idea out there. I just love acronyms. So it stands for commitment, relationships, attitude, skill, and hunger. So very basic, but if you put all those things together in a nutshell, it could be about drumming. It could work for a guitar player. It could work for a bass player. It could work for a soccer mom that wants to be a better version of a soccer mom. Somebody who wants to climb the corporate ladder. But just committing to your skill set, committing to the knowledge of your product, committing to your team, committing to your family, relationships, how important those are in life. I wouldn't have a career in the music business if I didn't have friends, if I didn't have true believers who would let me in, who would crack the door so I can, kick the door. You crack the door for me, give me an opportunity, I'll kick the door open. And then how attitude is so important and how enthusiasm is contagious and how positive people, they live longer and they're healthier and they have more friends and they make more money and they impact the world in a larger way. And then that skill, that's really where the drum clinic thing usually just focuses on. It's like, what are the skills you need to be successful in this particular field or playing this genre? And then having that hunger that burns in your belly to be successful. So it's really something that people can kind of take with them. So if it's a drumming event, I still use that format. I still play with tracks. I talk about reading and charting and playing with clicks and loops and overdubbing percussion and like music business 101 and endorsements and all the stuff that people like to know about, but a lot of clinicians just don't cover. So I'll go down that path, and I'll even have kids come up and they'll play, and I'll give them some instant feedback. Like, well, that sounds really great, kid, but the hi-hat's really soft and the snare drum's too loud. So you got to balance that out. And then for the corporate environment, it's still those same takeaways, but it's modified to the particular product or service at hand. And then I still have the CEO or the highest, person on the food chain come up, and I have them play. I roast them a little bit, so it's like a live drum lesson in front of all of their employees and their colleagues.
That's awesome.
And people love the drums, it's people are more likely to listen to the messaging of someone that they would consider, that's a cool guy. He's not wearing khakis and he's not death by PowerPoint. Like there's no PowerPoint. I'm not going to ever use PowerPoint,
Yeah, and then and then when you do with with drummers, the one thing that blew me away, and I had never seen anybody do this before, is that at the end of those events, you do, at least the couple that I've seen you do, you actually have a band come in and everybody that was part of that that weekend with you get to play a tune with a band. And that was awesome. That was just, I mean, that was an opportunity for young players to just, you know, if they haven't had a chance to do that before, mind blowing, you know, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But it's really cool idea. And
well, thank you. I hope we can get to doing those things in person.
I hope so
again.
too.
Yeah.
I really do. I hope so. Cause that was, to me, that was kind of like the highlight to me. I was like, wow, that is, you know, people don't get a chance to get up and do
well,
that.
we lost
That's
another
really cool.
great venue in Nashville, Douglas Corner. So many careers were made there. I love Mervyn. And,
absolutely.
you know, sometimes there's just a lifespan to these hallowed halls, you know?
I know. But that was heartbreaking to see that go. That's been there
I hope
forever.
some are sustained and maybe come back when this is kind of over, as vaccines filter through. We got some more news today, you know, and this is a little timed with the release of the podcast, but we should be getting vaccines and people get out. I think there'll be new energy to go out and see live music. As we know, there was a little bit of a deterioration of live music and the energy to go see it in some ways, because there was just many things for people to do. Stay at home and watch movies, do all these things. But I hope we have the raving 20s again, right? And people just want to go out and have fun and see live music again.
Yeah.
I think we'll see that, especially in a city like, you know, Music City, which truly is. It's just, there's so much music happening. When tourists come in, they're like, oh my God, there's a drummer in every window. There's how much for the drummer in the window? There's 30 bands playing up and down Lower Broadway.
Yeah.
So, and you have all these, the bachelor parties and bachelorette parties. It's crazy. I almost didn't feel like there was a pandemic in Nashville. Every time I go back, I'm like, what is going on with these party buses?
It's pretty wacky.
It was pretty crazy. Yeah. There was a time period before all the crowds, and I'm not criticizing that, but where you could easily get in and out of these places. And Nashville, to me, seemed like the promised land where live music was still alive and people appreciated it, you know?
Yeah. Now we're starting to get some velvet ropes and some, 500-pound muscly doormen that are like, are you on the list?
Yeah. Picking out,
Yeah, I think people will be ravenous for live music, hopefully. Yeah.
I think so too.
I said raving 20s. It would be the roaring 20s. Maybe we could have the raving 20s.
Yeah, raving, whatever. Kevin, whatever you're up to there, man. That's fine.
Yeah, because in the 20s, there's like, and then like the raving, that would be like.
Yeah.
Rich, I like the way you open your hi-hat there on that time.
It's good.
We touched on this a little bit, but a lot of our customers are drummers. And I think drummers recognize this most about the acoustics of a room. How important is that to you, the acoustics of the room? And
for my little place, Crash, it's, the Orlex, it brought it all together. And, I think, I don't remember what I got. I remember in college, I had to take a class, the physics of sound. I think I passed. I think I got a B on that one because I didn't consider it very interesting. I was like, I'll skip that one today and just stay here and practice. But it just tightens everything up and makes it more pro and presentable. Sure. And, let's hear it for the front of house guys with live acts that have to go into different venues every day. So like our front of house guy is always just like, we're like, how do you like the room today? He's like, oh, this is a dream come true. It's so controllable. And then he's like, whoa, boys, this one is a challenge today. Today.
Right.
But I mean, those guys are heroes, man. And then of course, in Nashville, we have all these unbelievable studios. Like the ones I work at all the time are kind of like your Ronnie's place. Say some people call it Black River, the Black River Room. And then there's Front Stage, Sound Emporium, Sound Kitchen, Omni, all amazing sounding rooms with tons of history, so.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the engineers that are the heroes. People are like, I love that snare drum sound. You guys like, look at man, it's a Black Beauty. I changed the head. I put it on the stand. And then the engineer is the guy that knows about the signal path and the mic placement and how the room reacts. And like, he's the hero,
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's everything in the chain. We have T-shirts and the slogan. It's not the gear, it's your room.
Yeah.
That's certainly true. You start with the room and the space and what it sounds like. It's everything has to come together, right? And then you have to know what to do with those tools, right?
Yeah. I mean, you could treat your room and do the 2 mics and,
Yeah,
and,
we
and,
could.
and get a lot of great results.
Yeah,
We could interview an
absolutely.
engineer that works with you right now, and he'd probably tell us that you hit the drum very nicely every time and makes his job really easily.
Well, there's one engineer, Pete Coleman, that I've been working with for 20 years, and he did all the Blondie records, and he did all the Knack records. He recorded My
wow.
Sharona. He did
Wow.
a lot of the Rodney Crowell stuff in the early days. So, but anything that Michael Knox has done in the last 20 years, we have worked together. And so, one of his, challenges, and I think this is for a lot of drummers, is just the hi-hat mic. The hi-hat's bleeding into the snare mic. And so I don't think anybody has invented anything yet to really handle that. It's just kind of like the bane of their existence. And the other thing that I've learned a lot is to just get my cymbals up a little higher than I would normally do in any situation, because he likes the cymbals out of the tom mics. So for him, I'll put the ride up like a little kind of high, almost like Ndugu Chancellor, that remember him from back
absolutely.
in the yeah. So
yeah, I used to
the
try and play
engineer
that
is
way.
king. Whatever people are requesting of me, it's not my record. If I put out a Rich Redmond solo record, the thing would go cardboard. But if I'm working for a celebrity or an artist or a label or a publisher or a killer engineer that's worked with all the best drummers in the business, it's like, whatever you need, man.
Tell us about the Rich Redmond podcast. So you have a really successful podcast, and you were kind enough to join us on our little podcast, but tell us about yours.
I have nothing but respect for podcasters, because we go and we buy our microphones and our interface, and we treat our room, and we start to book guests, and it's a hustle and a grind, but it's very satisfying. I really like it, and I'm getting to just learn from so many powerful people, successful people. So the show really focuses on all things music, motivation, and success, because those are things that I like to kind of talk about. And I can just steal all my ideas from like great comedians like a Dusty Slay, or a great author like, Brian Covey, or a killer recording artist like a Tyler Farr or a Parmalee, who just had their second #1, which I'm so excited for them. And then, other musicians and producers, Dan Huff has come on and talk about like cultivating his career, and then just a lot of drummers. I have so many drummers friends, and drummers are such interesting people, and they're usually pretty funny and outgoing. So I can't believe it. We're already up to like 110 episodes. I got 20 already pre-recorded in the can. So I try to record like 8 a month, and then I put them in a queue and I drip them out. So hopefully they're evergreen. It's not the kind of show where people are going to come on and go like, I just dropped a new record, and it's come and
right.
It's not that timely. I want them to kind of hold up and be evergreen.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be continuous content and everything. I've listened to a few. They're great.
Thank you.
Great podcast. So
Awesome
everybody
job.
should check that out.
If you want to hear an energy explosion, listen to episode 100 with me and Kenny Aronoff. And I saved him. Yeah, I saved him for episode 100. He's like, that's cool, Redmond. You saved me for 100. I like the sound of that, man. And we just were like, I was like, this, because he was one of my heroes. Great, still is a hero.
Sure.
I mean, because he's so active. He's so busy. He's so relevant.
You two together. Wow.
We'll talk about going after
check
what
that
you
out.
want in life. It's
really.
I love hearing those people.
Very cool. Very cool.
So we talked about it a little bit, alluded to it, but how has your lifestyle kind of changed with COVID, the pandemic? I mean, you had a studio at home, kind of uniquely prepared, right?
Yeah. So, what I do is some guys are just like studio rats. They love being in their life. They love getting that studio tan. What I do is, since my engineer is my drum tech and pal of the last decade, John Hull, very talented kid. I'll call Johnny and I'll say, hey man, what's your Thursday, Friday look like? And he's like, it's open. I was like, all right, put me in pen. We're going over to Crash. We're going to record 20 songs, man. We're just going to knock them out. And it's so fun to kind of work that way because, I don't know, it's just kind of efficient. I love that. And I'm just not, I'm not a good engineer. I know that if I was going to learn that skill set, it would take a long time. And so for me to crank out one song and have a great product with me engineering and recording at the same time, that's a lot of different sides of your brain.
Yeah.
And so I know my limitations. I'm not saying that I'm not going to work. Like my friend Tony Mora, you know, he had one of the first tracking rooms in Nashville where he took a garage, floated the floors. And I mean, he is a genius, but he's got such a background in recording that to catch up with that skill set, I like to surround myself with really talented people that do what I can't.
Well, it's a challenge to do it on your own. I mean, you've got to watch the preamp and the input to make sure everything isn't peaked or hot. The preamp has a sweet spot where it's going to sound best every time.
Yeah.
Microphone placement, you got to listen for that. So you'd have to do a performance and then go listen and change your headspace and go back, and it's time consuming.
It's I like having the going in and knowing I have to execute, and I know I just have to get this song and make that person happy.
Mm-hmm. Here's the point where we always ask this question. Love these answers. Is there something else interesting or unexpected about Rich Redmond that we wouldn't expect outside of the music world, your hobbies, interests, or activities?
I wish I had an interesting hobby. People are like, what's your hobby, man? I'm like, ships in a bottle. I love ships in a bottle.
Which is a real challenge on a tour bus.
I like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. No, I used to play. I have had so many weird. I'm a weird kid. Like I wasn't like an organized sports guy. Like all the guys in my band are. It's like, but football, basketball, March Madness. They live for it, right? And I'm like, I'm off doing something else, and I wish I had that. I wish I was just a sports fan, because it's such a dude thing.
Yeah.
And it's, you could just level the playing field and just be like, see the game last night? I mean, you don't even have to have anything in common with anybody. Just like, oh yeah. And then the next, thing is an hour conversation. So for me, like, I was a disco roller skater growing up. I did ice speed skating.
Awesome.
Yeah, wow. I did like a little bit of soccer. I was a young man. I tried softball. I never got up to baseball. Wasn't that cool? And then I did the Dungeons and Dragons things. And then I was a band geek. I'm pretty much I'm like a cast member of Big Bang Theory. I'm like the secret guy in the background, a total nerd in a leather jacket. But I like Friends. I like film. I like fashion. I like food. So eating colorful food, like sampling different cultural foods. I love films. I love situational comedies. I'm a massive fan of the multicam sitcoms. So the Mike and Molly's, Three's Company, All in the Family, that model. So any Chuck Lorre show, like 2.5, I'm like, how can, that's a lot of writing. That's a lot of memorization. And then just all the rules of comedy, the right hook, left hook, there's so much rhythm to comedy. So I study these things, so, and I run and I do a little bit of, boot camp style plyometric stuff. Like if I got to shave off a little bit of like Thanksgiving weight, I'll go over to like Barry's Boot Camp or Orange Theory and I'll like give it hell for a while,
Cool.
That's always fun. I don't even know if I answered that question, but
you did.
Look up when you're in those places, because there's Oralex in those rooms.
That's right.
Are they really?
Yeah. I've worked with them several times.
Yeah. The other thing you kind of almost touched on is acting. You guys are doing acting too. How did you end up doing that?
Well, it's always like a career fantasy. Like everybody's got like a thing like, yeah, man, I'd love to be the shirtless saxophone player that circular breathes. Like, I'm not joking. That sounds like really a fun thing. But in the back of my mind, I always thought to myself, like, what if I was like Jack Tripper's buddy or Larry's cousin that would come in every once in a while? And so that's always been in the back of my mind. And then just, in the last 6 years, I just started studying and taking classes and getting headshots and getting representation. And I'm in the game and it's so fun. I've been in a couple of horror films and I was on a cable show called Happy on the Sci-Fi Channel. I got to act with Christopher Maloney. So cool. It feels great to be in that game, and it's all in that creative. It's just another creative expression.
Right, right, exactly.
Which is really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and commonly, you fit the mold for the drummer, like you were saying. Drummers are really outgoing or funny. I don't know what it is, but it seems like the drummer is always the funniest guy in the band.
Well, it's hiding our pain because we really want to be up on the microphone.
We prefer to be in front of everyone, but you're stuck in the back.
We're just like, I'm behind this wood and metal and plastic, guys.
Yeah. Hello, it's me. I got stuff to say too.
But it's amazing. What an amazing job. I mean, literally the drums, people just think, oh yeah. They always say, do you play any other instruments besides just the drums? And I'm like, do you realize this is a lifelong pursuit and how many tens of thousands of hours I've spent doing this?
Yeah. And have you noticed that I have my 4 limbs going at different times and stuff? Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you tried to march and chew gum at the same time?
Yeah.
Because
have you ever thought about what everybody else would sound like if I was not playing?
Yeah, you gotta have a band is only as good as the drummer. It really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely. You make guitar players sound like they have good timing.
Yeah. Now I got to tell you, the guys in my band, woo, wow,
yeah,
so much time in the trenches that it's an unspoken language. It's like,
sure, yeah, guys,
Kurt and Jack work together beautifully, and then Jay lays that icing on there, and Jason is just this, he is the most amazingly consistent singer. I mean, he really never has a bad night.
Really?
I think in 20 years he called in sick maybe 2 times. Maybe
No
that's
way.
an amazing
Wow.
track record. Yeah,
That's incredible.
He's got that God-given, those pipes, man. I mean, his influences are like all the, the big, the Alabamas of the world, the Otis Reddings of the world. It's just really magical to have that group of guys where, one guy was really into like, Van Halen, and the other guy was really into like U2, and I was into the Police, and Jason was into Alabama, and Jack was into like, Petty and Skynyrd, and Jay loved like, Jay was like played a lot of traditional country music coming up, and so you put that all together, and it just makes this kind of interesting recipe.
Yeah, mix it together. It's a soup. Well, Rich, thank you for joining us today on Creative Spaces. Been a great conversation. I feel like we could go all day. I want to tell everybody out there to make sure that they go to richredmond.com or imdb.me/richredmond, drumminginthemodernworld.com, or find you on your favorite social media outlet. You're all out there. Follow you, music, acting, public speaking, lessons, all of it. It's a great inspiration to up-and-coming drummers, I think, and professional drummers.
Thank you guys so much. And thank you for the support over the years. I really, really do appreciate it. And you guys are great hosts.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I was a little nervous.
We had to deliver today.
I'm listening to your podcast. And
you're Rich Redmond, so we had to deliver today.
No, man, you guys are fantastic. And it's great to laugh. I mean, there's so many things that are good for the body when you laugh.
Absolutely.
When you laugh,
Yep.
it's very helpful.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you very much, Rich. It's awesome, as always, to talk to you. And thank you for your support throughout the years, too. We appreciate you using our products, and continued success and happiness and health. And we'll see you soon.
Oh, thank you guys so much. And the same to you. I'm so glad everybody's healthy through this. And stay safe. We're closing in on this thing.
Closing it.
That's right. That's right.
Thanks,
a lot.
guys.
Time underneath the lights down in San Antonio. Yeah, I make good memories just about everywhere I go. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Sometimes you gotta put it all behind you, but there's one thing that I just can't get off my mind. When I talk about Georgia, it's the color in your eyes of a summertime shining on you. I remember every mile, yeah, you drove me wild, baby, and the way it felt like nothing else is true, girl, I think about you. Well, I'm talking about Georgia.
Thanks again for listening to Creative Spaces. And before we go, please make sure you head over to orlex.com, where you'll find a ton of information to make the right choices when it comes to acoustical treatment and sound isolation for your creative space. You can also purchase Orlex products on our site or your favorite Orlex dealer. And follow Orlex on your social media platform of choice. Thanks for listening.